but I need to understand what you did. Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
हरे कृष्णा। तो आज के इस भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर जो जिसको पुणे विद्यापीठ से मतलब सावित्रीबाई फुले पुणे विद्यापीठ से यूनिवर्सिटी से अपने को एफिलिएशन मिला है, उसका ये इनॉग्रेशन फंक्शन प्रोग्राम है। तो इस फंक्शन में भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर की ओर से मैं आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूँ। इस कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत अभी हम करने जा रहे हैं। तो मंच के ऊपर आज के जो प्रमुख अतिथि है उनको मैं स्थानापन्न होने के लिए विनती करूंगा। तो सबसे पहले मैं पद्म विभूषण विजय भटकर इनको आमंत्रित करता हूँ। सर आ रहे। इनके बाद पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी के जो वाइस चांसलर हैं श्री नितिन जी कर्माकर, उनको मैं निवेदन करता हूँ कि आप स्थानापन्न होइए। इसके बाद प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर अंजलि खुराना जो डीन फैकल्टी ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटीज है सावित्रीबाई फुले पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी के, तो उनको मैं नम्र निवेदन करूंगा कि आप कृपया ऊपर स्टेज के ऊपर स्थानापन्न हो। श्री राजेश जी पांडे जो गवर्नर ऑफ महाराष्ट्र से मैनेजमेंट काउंसिल करके सावित्रीबाई फुले यूनिवर्सिटी है पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी के ऊपर जो मैनेजमेंट काउंसिल करके अपॉइंट किए गए हैं, तो मैं राजेश जी पांडे जी को विनती करता हूं। इस्कॉन के जीबीसी और जो भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के डायरेक्टर ट्रस्टी श्रीमान गौरांग प्रभु को भी मैं विनती करता हूं कि कृपया आप स्थानापन्न हुई है। के डायरेक्टर पुणे इस्कॉन के प्रेसिडेंट अध्यक्ष श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु, इनको भी मैं नम्र निवेदन करना चाहूंगा कि आप कृपया स्टेज के ऊपर आइए। भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के भारत के जो डायरेक्टर है, इंडिया के डायरेक्टर श्रीमान सुमंत रुद्रा, उनको भी मैं नम्र निवेदन करूंगा कि आप कृपया मंच के ऊपर आइए। भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के पुणे के एकेडमिक्स डायरेक्टर श्रीमान डॉक्टर जनार्दन चितोड़े, उनको भी निवेदन करूंगा कि आप कृपया स्टेज के ऊपर आए। भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर पुणे का जो ब्रांच है उसके ऑनरेबल डायरेक्टर श्रीमान धुमाल सर, इनको भी मैं विनती करूंगा कि आप स्टेज के ऊपर आइए। यस, तो ये हमारा परम सौभाग्य है कि ये सभी भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के लिए ये हमारे सौभाग्य का क्षण है, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी हमारा मुंबई, दिल्ली, कलकत्ता और यूएस में एक शहर में इस प्रकार का सेंटर हमने खोला है। और 2 साल पहले करीब करीब 19 दिसंबर को 2019 में हमने यहाँ एक वाइस चांसलर्स लोगों का एक मीटिंग अरेंज किया था, जिसमें करीब करीब अलग अलग यूनिवर्सिटी से 10-12 वाइस चांसलर्स यहाँ आए थे। और तब ये विचार भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के जो डायरेक्टर ट्रस्टीज है श्रीमान गौरांग प्रभु ने ये व्यक्त किया था कि पुणे शहर ये विद्या का शहर है, ये साधु संतों का शहर है, ये भारत का एक महत्वपूर्ण शहर है, तो यहाँ भी एक भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर का एक ब्रांच होना चाहिए। और वही विचार आगे लेकर हमने ये भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर जो है यहाँ उसके ऊपर काम करने के लिए शुरू किया। और मुझे कहने के लिए बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि जब 2 साल पहले, 2-2.5 साल पहले उस प्रोग्राम के लिए हमारे बीच में श्रीमान विजय जी भटकर, पद्म विभूषण विजय जी भटकर यहाँ उपस्थित थे और श्रीमान नितिन जी करमालकर भी वहाँ उपस्थित थे। तो आज ये दोनों भी, जब हमने ये शपथ ली थी करेंगे, और आज हम हो गया है, पूर्ण हो गया है, और इसका साक्षी विटनेस जिसको बोलते हैं ये दोनों है, तो ये बहुत ही हमारे लिए एक आनंद की बात है। तो सबसे पहले जैसे हमारे भारतीय परंपरा अनुसार हम दीप प्रज्वलन करके इस कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करने जा रहे हैं। सो सभी उपस्थित मान्यवरों को मैं विनती करूंगा कि दीप प्रज्वलन करने के लिए मेरे दाहिने हाथ की ओर आप आइए। तो सभी मान्यवरों को मैं विनती करता हूँ कि मंच के ऊपर आप स्थापित करें। हमारे भारतीय परंपरा के अनुसार दीप प्रज्वलन करने के बाद हमारे विद्याश्रम करके गुरुकुल है, उसके बच्चे अभी यहाँ छोटी सी प्रार्थना कहेंगे, क्योंकि हमें पता है कि प्रार्थना जो है, इस प्रार्थना जो गौरव होता है, उसके बाद भगवान को निवेदन किया जाता है और साथ साथ भगवान को आश्रय भी प्रदान, भगवान इस प्रकार सभी का अपनी कृपा बरसाते हैं। तो मैं बच्चों को विनती करूंगा कि वो छोटी सी प्रार्थना
स्थापितं येन भूतले
स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुर् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणललिता रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादा सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे नमः न्याय कृष्ण प्रेमा प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण।
तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अभी हम यहाँ उपस्थित जो मंच के ऊपर जो अतिथि हमारे इस कार्यक्रम के लिए आए हैं उनको हम सम्मानित करेंगे। तो साथ साथ आज हमारे में और दो प्रमुख लोग आए हैं। यहाँ एक भंते सुदेश जी भी आए हैं जो बौद्ध धर्म के प्रचारक है। तो है यहाँ, तो यहाँ उपस्थित है ना? हाँ ठीक है। और साथ साथ यहाँ प्रहलाद जी राठी जो हिंदू अध्यात्म सेवा संस्था के उपाध्यक्ष है वो भी यहाँ है। और श्रीमान दिलीप भाई मेहता वो हिंदू अध्यात्म सेवा संस्था के अध्यक्ष है, वो भी यहाँ उपस्थित है। उनको भी हम स्वागत करते हैं, आगे बैठने के लिए हम करते हैं। तो इस प्रकार सबसे पहले मैं भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के डायरेक्टर ट्रस्टी इनको निवेदन करूंगा कि आज के जो प्रमुख अतिथि है पद्म विभूषण विजय भटकर, इनको सम्मानित करें भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर की ओर से। श्रीमान गौरांग प्रभु उनको सम्मानित करेंगे। शॉल दीजिए। इस्कॉन पूना के अध्यक्ष श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु, ये पूना यूनिवर्सिटी के जो वाइस चांसलर कुलगुरु है श्री नितिन जी करमालकर, इनको सम्मानित करेंगे। श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु। श्रीमान गौरांग प्रभु को मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि हमारे श्रीमान राजेश जी पांडे जो महाराष्ट्र के राज्यपाल, उनके तरफ से मैनेजमेंट काउंसिल करके पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी के ऊपर अपॉइंट किए गए हैं, उनका सम्मान करें। आज यहाँ डीन ऑफ कॉमर्स एंड मैनेजमेंट के डॉक्टर कालकर भी नितिन जी के साथ उपस्थित है। मैं श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु जी को विनती करूंगा कि डॉक्टर कालकर जी को सम्मानित करें। मैं प्रोफेसर अंजलि कुरणे जो डीन फैकल्टी ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटीज़ है सावित्रीबाई फुले यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में, पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी में, उनको सम्मानित करने जा रहा हूँ। मैं श्रीमान धुमाड़ सर को विनती करूँगा कि मैडम को सम्मानित करें। श्रीमान गौरांग प्रभु को मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि आज हमारे बौद्ध धर्म के प्रचारक भंते सुदर्शन जी यहाँ आए हैं, उनको भी सम्मानित करें पुष्पगुच्छ और ये देकर। हिंदू अध्यात्म सेवा संस्था के अध्यक्ष श्रीमान दिलीप भाई मेहता, इनको भी मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि आप आगे आइए। श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु उनको सम्मानित करेंगे। एक गीता और ये है। यस। महामाता रमाबाई अंबेडकर राष्ट्रीय स्मारक के अध्यक्ष श्रीमान विठल जी गायकवाड़ भी यहाँ उपस्थित है, इनको भी हम सम्मानित करेंगे। श्रीमान गौरांग प्रभु उनको सम्मानित करेंगे। श्री लक्ष्मी नारायण मंदिर के अध्यक्ष श्रीमान प्रहलाद जी राठी यहाँ उपस्थित है। श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु को विनती करूंगा कि उनको भी आप सम्मानित करें। प्रोफेसर राम गंभीर और प्रोफेसर रास्कर, इनको भी निवेदन करूंगा कि आप राधेश्याम प्रभु के कर कमलों द्वारा आप सम्मान स्वीकार करें। प्रोफेसर गंभीर और प्रोफेसर रास्कर, यहाँ पढ़ेगा भारत करके, क्योंकि भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर जो है, हाँ रास्कर सर भी यहाँ उपस्थित है। हाँ, तो ये भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर को एक ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म भविष्य में मिलने वाला है। उसके लिए भारत के जो सम्माननीय पंतप्रधान है, इन्होंने एक पढ़ेगा भारत बढ़ेगा भारत नाम की एक योजना की है। उसके अंतर्गत भारत के जो एक्स मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट श्रीमान अमरजी साबळे, उनकी बेटी यहाँ वेणु साबळे उपस्थित है, तो वो मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर है पढ़ेगा भारत इस ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म की, और भविष्य में ये बीआरसी के साथ एक काम करेंगे। तो उनको मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि गौरांग प्रभु उनको सम्मानित करेंगे। भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर को पुणे महानगर पालिका मंदिर के बाजू में ही करीब करीब 1 एकड़ का एम्यूनिटी स्पेस है, वो एक 2-4 महीने के अंदर मिलने वाली है। तो ये जगह का पूरा स्टडी करके उसके ऊपर एक बहुत सुंदर प्रोजेक्ट डिजाइन करने के लिए हमने एक सेवा के रूप में हमारे साथ 2 आर्किटेक्ट जुड़े हैं, इसमें शीतल, अर्जुन वाडकर और इरफान, ये दोनों को मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि आप गौरांग प्रभु के हाथ से एक पुष्प गुच्छ और भगवद गीता का स्वीकार करें। सौ अवंतिका टोले, इन्होंने संस्कृत में पीएचडी की है और नारदीय कीर्तन करने वाले पुणे में, आप लोगों को पता है कि पुणे में जो नारदीय कीर्तन करके बहुत प्रसिद्ध है महाराष्ट्र में स्पेसिफिक, ये नारदीय कीर्तन की कला इन्होंने पूरा इसको संभाल के रखा है। हालांकि अभी 6-7 दिन पहले ही उनका एक नारदीय कीर्तन बहुत सुंदर चैतन्य महाप्रभु के जीवन के ऊपर हुआ, जिसको करीब करीब 10,000 लोगों के लाइक्स मिले हैं, व्यूज मिले हैं। और ये बचपन से ही नारदीय कीर्तन सीखे हैं, साथ साथ संस्कृत में उन्होंने पीएचडी की है। ये भी भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के साथ जुड़ने जा रहा है। तो सौभाग्यवती जो अवंतिका जो है, उनको मैं विनती करूंगा कि आप आपका भगवद गीता और इनको सम्मानित करें। डॉक्टर सुमंतो। सो ये भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर में एक यंग टीम जो है, एक इसके पीछे एक अच्छी कार्यरत है, जिसमें इधर जो है देवल है, देवल चितोड़े, भक्ति राधिका, भक्ति भोसले, और दूसरी जो है वहाँ एक कस्तूरी लेंडे करके है। इनको अभी डॉक्टर अब्दुल कलाम का जो है रिसर्च के लिए जो फेलोशिप अवार्ड मिलता है वो उनको अभी मिला है। ये तीनों को मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि गौरांग प्रभु के हाथ से उनको हम सम्मानित करेंगे। भक्ति भोसले, देवल चितोड़े और कस्तूरी लेंडे, ये लोग एनवायरनमेंट के ऊपर रिसर्च करने जा रहे हैं कि महाराष्ट्र में केशर का उत्पादन कैसे कर सके या फिशरी के बारे में कैसे स्टडी कर सके। भक्ति जो है ये पूरा अन्नामृत का जो है पीआर और एडवर्टाइजमेंट डिपार्टमेंट देखती है। और कस्तूरी लेंडे, इनको डॉक्टर अब्दुल कलाम फेलोशिप अवार्ड जो रिसर्च के लिए मिला है। यस, डॉक्टर पाटनकर है क्या यहाँ? आसावरी पाटनकर नहीं है, ठीक है। सो सबको मैं विनती करता हूँ। और अभी हम इसके साथ साथ, क्योंकि मुझे पता है एक्चुअली ये पूरा हॉल जो है ये मंच के रूप में मुझे यह करना था, क्योंकि यहाँ बैठे हुए हर एक व्यक्ति बहुत ही महान है और हर एक व्यक्ति का कार्य महान है। और इस कार्य के लिए मतलब देश को जो एकात्मता, समता, बंधुता, इस प्रकार का जो इस्कॉन पूरे विश्व में 170 देशों में 600-740 मंदिर के मार्फत जो अलग अलग देशों में भक्ति भाव के कृष्ण भक्ति का प्रचार करते हुए संतों के साहित्यों के माध्यम से पूरे विश्व में, सिर्फ भारत में नहीं तो पूरे विश्व में पूरे समाज को, पूरा मानवता को एक अलग प्लेटफॉर्म के ऊपर लाकर एक सद्भावना, एक प्रेम का एक वातावरण निर्माण कर रहा है, उसमें आप सभी लोग इसमें जुड़े हैं। मैं आप सभी लोगों को हृदयपूर्वक धन्यवाद दूंगा कि आप इस कार्यक्रम के लिए उपस्थित रहकर इसकी शोभा आपने बढ़ाई। सो मैं ज़्यादा समय नहीं लेते हुए मैं विनती करूंगा कि मंदिर के अध्यक्ष श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु की, जिनका परिचय मैं आपको 1-2 शब्द में करके देना चाहता हूं। श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु, इन्होंने आईआईटी पवई से अपनी एमटेक की डिग्री हासिल की। इन्होंने इनको स्पेशलाइजेशन करोजन में था, ऐसा कल रात को ही मुझे पता चला। हमें पता है कि करोजन के लिए मतलब कोई भी मेटल के ऊपर करोजन होता है तो उसके ऊपर बॉन्डिंग अच्छा नहीं होता है, उसके लिए वो जो सरफेस है वो करोजन फ्री करना पड़ता है, तभी उसके ऊपर पेंटिंग है या जो भी उसके ऊपर फिल्म अप्लाई करना है वो होता है। तो राधेश्याम प्रभु ने ये बाहर का करोजन का बॉन्डिंग में एक्सपर्टाइज लिया था, वो छोड़ के उन्होंने इंटरनल करोजन के ऊपर काम करना शुरू किया। तो पूरे भारत में स्पेसिफिकली इस्कॉन ये संस्था की ओर से पूरे विश्व में राधेश्याम प्रभु युवकों को प्रचार करने के लिए बहुत ही सुप्रसिद्ध है। उनके जो प्रवचन है, उनकी जो शुद्धता है, उनका भगवान के प्रति का जो भक्ति भाव है वो इतना श्रेष्ठ है कि उनके प्रवचन से लाखों युवक में जो बदलाव हम लोग देख रहे हैं। आज भारत के युवक मांसाहार नहीं कर रहे, मद्यपान नहीं कर रहे, व्यभिचार नहीं कर रहे, जुआ नहीं खोल रहे, और जहां भी जिस भी क्षेत्र में हो, जो चाहे वो शैक्षणिक हो, सामाजिक हो, व्यावसायिक हो, पारिवारिक हो, वो हर एक क्षेत्र में एक अलग स्तर वो प्राप्त कर रहे हैं उनके मार्गदर्शन से। तो ऐसे श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु ये आने के बाद करीब करीब 1991 में उन्होंने कार्यभार करके संभाला। उसके बाद आज हम जो जिस वास्तु में बैठे हैं वो 6 एकड़ में हमने ये करीब करीब 60 करोड़ रुपए खर्चा कर 2013 में भारत के सम्माननीय राष्ट्रपति प्रणब मुखर्जी उनके कर कमलों द्वारा इस मंदिर का उद्घाटन किया। उस पूरे मंदिर के पीछे प्रेरणा जो थी वो श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु थे। तो ज्यादा समय नहीं लेते हुए मैं श्रीमान राधेश्याम प्रभु को विनती करूंगा कि ये जो शुरुआत का जो भाषण है वो करे, क्योंकि उसके बाद उनको एक ऑनलाइन का प्रवचन है, इसलिए हम सबसे पहले उनका आज जो शब्द है उनको कहने के लिए मैं निवेदन करूंगा।
All understand English, I think. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. First of all, I would like to welcome all the great dignitaries assembled here on the stage and on the audience also. Nitin R. Kalmakarji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule, Pune University, and the President of our function, Padma Bhushan Vijay Bhadkarji, Chancellor of Nalanda University, who has been a great friend to us many years. We know him since the time of Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was in Pune. We used to go and meet him. He has such an amazing blend of science and spirituality, and he has done a lot of good work. And we also have guests of honor, Honorable Rajesh Pandeji, Governor's nominee on Management Council, SPPU Pune. We also have Professor Dr. Anjali Kurune, Dean, Faculty of Humanities, SPPU Pune. We have Professor Dr. Sadananda More, President of ABMSS and Chairman of Sant Namdev Adyasan Pune. And many other very esteemed guests arrived here. All great welfare workers for the society with a very good, pure heart and intention for doing the greater good for the world selflessly. I welcome every one of you here today. This BRC, Bhaktivedanta Research Center, is such a very valuable institute for adding value to the people in life. My dear friend Gauranga Prabhu, who has been into this Bhaktivedanta Research Center for since many years. He has joined hands with many of the great dignitaries here, and he was doing such great work in Bombay, Calcutta, and the same good work is coming to Pune here. I am very grateful to him and thankful to him for creating this wonderful platform in which many students are going to do research in Indian philosophy, Sant Sahitya, music, culture, art, and such kinds of different fields. So, what is the most essential thing that we can do in the life of the modern day youth today? I heard that out of the 140 crore population of India, more than 70 crores are youths. And we can say that they are the leaders of tomorrow. So what kind of lifestyle will they lead? What kind of habits will they have? What kind of character they will have? And will they emulate the role model of their ancestors, carrying life of values? There is a very big gap between the previous generation and the next generation. There's a large scale degradation, even in our country, due to the media explosion. And there is a degradation in character. So, what can we think of as one prime subject? I have been traveling to colleges in India and abroad. One example I'll tell you. When I was in Massachusetts, the Institute of Technology in Boston, I was giving a lecture. I just made one passing statement that in this world, all of us are co-workers. None of us are independent, I said. And then I gave an example. Arjuna was a co-worker with Lord Krishna. So it is by Krishna's advice and Arjuna's action, the war was successful. So, and then I made a following statement that, in this world, all of us are symbiotically dependent on one another, mutually dependent. So that boy objected. He raised the hand. And he said, you see, as soon as I graduate from MIT, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I will start my own industry. My father is very rich. And I will have 5,000 employees in my company. And my company will bring me a lot of money. And I'm not going to depend on anybody. And I'm inheriting the money from my father, and I'll be independent, he said. Then I told him, see, your success of your industry depends on the people whom you are employing. If the employees don't cooperate with you, they won't bring success for you. Think about it. Then he thought for a while. At the end of the class, he said, what you said is right, he said. He admitted. You will see a husband and wife are symbiotically related. Plants are giving us oxygen, we are giving them carbon dioxide. Parents take care of the budding children, and when children grow up, they take care of the parents. Tell me in this world, who is not a co-worker? So, what the society needs the most in the modern times is self-management. Self-management has 5 subjects. I will just say a couple of lines about each of them. The first thing in self-management is goal setting. We should be very clear about what is the goal of human life. When once Narada came to Indraprastha, at that time the Pandavas were having a dialogue amongst themselves. So they were asking, what should be the goal of life? So Arjuna said, money should be the goal of life, because he is Dhananjaya. Without money, how can you, do anything at all in life? Money is most essential. And when Yudhishthir came there, Yudhishthir said, no, dharma is the goal of life. Dharmo rakshati rakshataha. And then he said, if you have money, but you don't have dharma, all the money will go down the drain. It will not remain with you, he said. And then Bhima came and said, you guys are talking about dharma and artha, but actually karma is the goal of life, he said. Because, if you have money, you can't enjoy that money. What's the use of that money? And if you say you follow dharma and the dharma doesn't make you happy, it makes you miserable, what's the use of dharma, he said. And then Narada came there, and Narada told them, what is ideal in our life is we should have a balance between dharma and artha. Because when there is no balance between, therefore you say Shubha Labh, the right. Labh means artha. Shubha means Narayana. So Narayana and Lakshmi are together in Shubha Labh. And if you don't have the Shubha, remove the Shubha, if you have only Labh, that's what Ravana tried to have by carrying goddess of fortune Sita away, and then he was destroyed. If one has money but he doesn't have character, all that money will go down the drain. So therefore, in America, there was a real story. One rich man had 2 sons. He was a multi-billionaire actually. And he was a drunkard. He ruined his whole life. He had to take a lot of medicines and he pitiably died. But then his 2 sons, the elder son became a very noble person. He went very high in his academics and everything. He started industries, became a very big man in society. And the younger one became again a drunkard and got spoiled. So one staff reporter asked both of them, what is it that makes you such a great leader? And what is it that makes you so degraded? What's the reason? They found out, both of them said, we learned from our father, they said. So the second son said, because my father was a drunkard, I became drunkard, he said. And the first one said, I learned from my father how drinking ruins our life. That's a lesson he learned, because he was a boy of character. He had learned something good from the school, from the teachers. He picked up the right thing. So therefore, people need to know the goal of life. I can succinctly tell you what's the goal of life in just 2 phrases. Rekindling wisdom, reviving love. This is the goal of life.
The best way to get.
So rekindling wisdom is of the head and love is of the heart. We need a balance between head and heart. People who have only head are very fanatical people, dry people. They are heartless and they are merciless and they are non-compassionate, non-considerate. And people who are with the heart, they are very compassionate, very sympathetic, very nice, very good in dealing, but they don't know what is right. They need the head to do the right thing. So we need to combine these 2, rekindling wisdom and reviving love. So what is wisdom all about? It's about 3 things: matter, spirit, and controller of both. Now modern man is studying so many subjects only about matter. Like one boy, when I was in West, he was telling that he is doing research on the nervous system of cockroaches. His doctorate thesis for 6 years. So I told him, do you know the nervous system of frogs? He said, sorry, that's another field, I don't know. Then there is nervous system of humans. nervous system of birds. It's such a big field in biomedical, if you see. And there are people dealing with machines, dealing with computers. There are people doing so many other things also. But all these people are studying only about matter. But they don't know about the spirit at all. What is life? In this world, Jada and Chetan, two things can be seen visibly by all of us. And we know Chetan is superior to Jada. But beyond the two is Ishwar. Without knowing Ishwar, our life would be incomplete. And therefore, when people don't know about God, then there is greed always. Like Gandhi rightly said, there is enough in this world for everyone's need, but not for one man's greed. So in Sanskrit, there are two formulae. One is Jiyo Jinedo, which you all know. Another one is Jivo Jivasya Jivanam. So Jivo Jivasya Jivanam means, I try to eat you and you try to eat me. And that's the whole world all about now, in the current moment. Opposite of that, just opposite of that is Jiyo Jinedo, live and let live. So all of you dignitaries assembled here, if we all want to make this world a Jiyo Jinedo world, unfortunately people have only Jiyo SIM nowadays. Nobody has Jinedo SIM. Somebody has to make a Jinedo SIM also. So therefore the goal setting means the goal of life should be to cultivate wisdom about what? Matter, spirit and controller of both. This is wisdom. And love. Love for whom? People love their mother first, then they love their father, then they love their brother and sister. Does the love end there? No. Then you love your caste people. Then you love your state people. Then you love your country people. Then when you travel all over the world, you love all human beings, but still people cut the cows, they kill innocent creatures. If you want to expand your love unlimitedly, that's only possible when you love God. Therefore it is that love God, love all. So God is like a master switch. Then when you love God, then there is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole globe becomes one family. So with Lord in the center. So this is about wisdom and love, which is a goal setting in our life. So our boys and girls in this current day society should not be taught only to have material goals. Material goals makes them simply like two-legged animals. We want to actually teach them you should have a smaller picture of life and a larger picture of life. That leads us to the second point, which is decision making. Like after knowing goal setting, what is decision making? What is right? What is wrong? What is hitakarak? What is hanikarak? And what should be picked? What should be dropped? What is small observation? What do you call it? Like a larger observation and a smaller observation. People have become so localized in their own small material fields, they don't know the ultimate goal of life. Try to ask yourself a question. A boy is playing in the seashore and making sandcastles, which is washed away by the seashore. The seashore by the sea waves. And he cries. But then when he looks towards mother and father, they tell him, "Beta, it's getting dark now, come, let's go." So then he leaves it behind and goes, because his relationship is not with the seashore. His relationship is with the parents. Similarly, our relationship is with God, not with this world where everything is created and destroyed in this world. So people always are so short-sighted, they become completely like a kopamanduk, we say, like a frog in the well. They can't see the Atlantic Ocean, which is a larger life and happier life. So first I told you is goal setting, rekindling wisdom and reviving love. Second thing is decision making. So children need to be taught about making the right decisions in life, what to choose, what to pick, what to drop. What is short-term pleasure? Like we say, kshanik sukh, we say, and ananta sukh. They should know the difference between the two. And that is decision making. Then, and thirdly, after making the decision, they should also be given training about communication. What is communication? How to communicate my idea to others, speak in such a way that others will listen to us, and hear in such a way that others will be able to speak to us. So when God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means we have to listen well. So therefore many people don't listen. Therefore sometimes 2 people come and shout like anything, because although they are very near, their hearts are far away. Therefore they yell. In order for people to be able to connect with each other, the communication is important, which means how should I treat my seniors, my equals, my juniors? How should I treat women? How should I treat children? How should I treat the nature, environment? How should I treat the poor animals? All are taught in the Vedic literature very well. So this is actually communication all about. Communication is not about how to make more money, how to become more popular, how I can cut your throat and I can exploit you, how I can climb on your head. That's not the goal. The goal is actually to communicate with each other for Jiyo Jinedo, again. So that is about communication. Then the fourth one is time management or priority management, we can say. There are 4 things in our life, whatever you do in life. One is decide. Second one is do it now. Third one is delegate. Fourth one is delete. These are the 4 types of activities you can think about. Quadrant 2 we call it, which is decide. That's the most intelligent quadrant, which is not urgent, important. What is it all about? Developing relationships, planning for the future, handling preventive maintenance, and also training oneself, training the people in our custody, building healthy relationships. All these things are in quadrant 2. If you focus on them, they're all delegate. They're all about, you can decide slowly, there is time for you. And then the first quadrant is do, urgent, important. So when you go from delegate to do, that's where you handle crisis management and all that, which is also a good platform. But the third and fourth quadrant are useless, which is delegate and delete. So they have to be taught about. Nowadays, many boys, girls are spending so much money. They are spoiling their good health also by putting things which are not good for the system and also wasting their time. So if you want to teach the children well, then after the first 3 are taught, then the fourth is time management should be taught to prioritize things in their life, what is important in life. Then the last one is called learning agility. Learning agility means we should be able to adapt ourselves with different kinds of people we work with. Like Arjuna was taught by Krishna in 2.14 Bhagavad-Gita. Don't try to change the world around you. You learn the art of surviving in a world of challenges and competitions. You should learn that. Gandhi said the same thing. You be the change, what you want to see in others, he said. So first set an example, then demand others to follow. Like that. The engine should be in the front. So engine leads by example and other bogies follow it. So therefore, this is the last one, learning agility, adapting ourselves to the world around us. For that, we need a high inner character of integrity, honesty, truthfulness, thinking win-win, maturity, being considerate. So we should be satisfied with ourselves and be sensitive to others. So these kind of qualities will actually make us very successful in adapting ourselves in this world and living very happily, even in a world of challenges. And also, learning agility not only means surviving with, communicating with people. It also talks about ad hoc jobs come on us. Several challenges come in our life. How to be like a shock absorber, willing to take the modern day shocks. I don't have to tell you how the life is nowadays. So therefore, we need these five type of qualities which constitute self-management. I told you to begin with. I told you goal setting. Then I told you the decision making. Then we talked about time management, communication. Then time management and learning agility. All these things constitute together self-management. So recently I was giving a seminar on 10 topics called a self-development course. Because when I see the youths, I feel pity. Many of them are very well-to-do family. Like in IIT Hyderabad, 2019, 3 boys committed suicide in IIT Hyderabad by jumping off from the 7-story building. Now they have closed the terrace and everything. And I was telling the IIT boys recently when I met them, see, Pandavas underwent such difficulty. Their wife was insulted, they were driven to the forest, assassination attempts was made in the Varanavatlakshagraha and all those things. And Bhima was fed with poison. Did the thought of committing suicide ever cross their minds? Think about it. So Pandavas never committed suicide because they always had a very good advisor with them, which is Lord Krishna with them. But modern day children are deprived of learning good values and morals and habits and character and everything, and which is actually taught through art, poetry, music, culture, philosophy, all these things. Idam kipumsas tapasashchutasya vasvishtasya suktasya cha buddhidattayoho avichito vartakavibirnirupito yaduttama gunanuvarnanam. Art, poet, science, poet, all these things should be utilized to ultimately glorify God. But while we are in this world, the very same things will teach us morals, values, ethics, character, all these things in our life, and spirituality in our life. So I'm very, very pleased to see this Bhaktivedanta Research Center coming up in Pune. And I especially want to thank one very special personality who's a very great binder of all the people here, which is Balabhadra Kripa Prabhu. And I have never seen anyone, such a sensitive man, such a friendly man. Where is Balabhadra Kripa Prabhu? He's actually, he's the one who won the heart of Dumal sir, and also Bhadkarji and all of them. Many of them sincerely appreciate his especially humanness and kindness and friendliness and professionally doing things. It's a very rare combination because professional people are often very sharp and they're insensitive. Oftentimes it's seen, and people who are people of the heart may often be unorganized, but he has a good, rare combination of being very professional on one hand and being very friendly on the other. I'm very thankful to Balabhadra Kripa Prabhu. Without his taking initiative, and then there is Shwedi Prabhu, Chittore Sir, and many others came together, and this initiative has come up very well. Gaurang Prabhu has been coming time and time again and guiding us what we should be doing here. And he has a very good team of Balram Prabhu and Sumantra Prabhu and all these people. So we are very pleased. Pune is actually Punya Nagari. It's a very beautiful place. And Pune is known for both culture and education. And Pune is called as Oxford of the East. So it's very appropriate to have this BRC here. I thank all the great dignitaries. I know every one of them is so busy people in their life. They have taken out their valuable time to come for this inauguration. I thank every one of them. Thank you. One last thing. Srila Prabhupada, when he went to the West, especially London, people asked him, why have you come here? Prabhupada told them that you rooted India very well, but one thing you forgot to take with you. And that is the Vedic wisdom of India, which I have come to give you, he said. So Prabhupada will be so pleased to see these initiatives because he wanted ISKCON society to be actually an educational organization. And he actually wanted to be like a university. He said, we don't want just people ringing the bell, putting a coin and going. We want people to be enlightened. So we have many, many highly educated preachers in ISKCON society. And this BRC initiative, I am very sure, will lead to bringing out many, many doctorates in the near future. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. तो अभी इसके बाद भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के जो ट्रस्टी है तो उनको मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि ये अपने शब्द विचार करेंगे. उनका परिचय सबसे पहले मैं दूंगा. श्रीमान गौरांग प्रभु परम पूज्य राधानाथ स्वामी महाराज जी के शिष्य है. इन्होंने अपनी बीटेक की डिग्री IIT पवे से हासिल की मेट्रोलॉजी में और उसके बाद 1993 में इन्होंने गिरगांव चौपाटी का जो इस्कॉन मंदिर है वहाँ उन्होंने सेवा के रूप में अपना जीवन एक ब्रह्मचर्य के रूप में समर्पित किया. और उसके बाद 1993 के बाद आज तक इन्होंने जो पूरा 360 डिग्री जिसको बोल सकते हैं कि वैरायटी ऑफ अलग अलग सर्विसेज में वो अपना योगदान देते रहे. और उसमें से कुछ सेवाएं उनकी इस प्रकार है कि सबसे पहले पूरे विश्व में इन्होंने पिछले करीब करीब 20-25 सालों में 10,000 से भी ज़्यादा प्रवचन दिए हैं. और हाँ, इसके साथ साथ वो इस्कॉन के अभी यंगेस्ट GBC है. गवर्निंग बॉडी कमीशन से ये पूरा 170 कंट्रीज में 740 मंदिर का जो पूरा निर्देशन होता है. इसकी एक 33 मैनेजमेंट काउंसिल के लोगों की एक बॉडी होती है गवर्निंग बॉडी, जिसको गवर्निंग बॉडी कमीशन बोला जाता है. तो ही इज़ वन ऑफ द गवर्निंग बॉडी कमीशन फॉर इस्कॉन ग्लोबल. इसके साथ साथ इस्कॉन पालघर करके एक गोवर्धन इको विलेज करके एक 100 एकड़ में एक बहुत सुंदर इस्कॉन का एक प्रोजेक्ट पालघर में है जिसमें विजय भटकर जी बहुत रेगुलरली वहाँ विजिट करने के लिए जाते हैं. मुझे पता है कि आप में से कई सारे लोग वहाँ विजिट किए होंगे. विजिट नहीं किया है तो आपको मैं ज़रूर विनती करूँगा कि आप ज़रूर विजिट करिए. एक ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट है जिसको पिछले 10 सालों के अंदर 8 साल के अंदर देश विदेश के नेशनल इंटरनेशनल 33 अवार्ड्स मिले हैं. इस गोवर्धन इको विलेज में आप गुरुकुल देख सकते हो, गौशाला देख सकते हो, ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग का ट्रेनिंग सेंटर देख सकते हो. आदिवासियों के लिए 70-80 गांव अलग अलग जो पालघर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कई सारे अपने आदिवासी बांधव रहते हैं उनकी सेवा के रूप में अलग अलग कार्यों से वो जुड़े हैं. बहुत देखने लायक सुंदर प्रोजेक्ट है. उसके वो डायरेक्टर है. साथ साथ गौरांग प्रभु जो है कि इस्कॉन जो चौपाटी है उसके भी एक TMC डायरेक्टर बॉडी में है. हालांकि इन्होंने रिसेंटली अभी एक आर्ट ऑफ रिजिलेंस नाम का एक किताब लिखा है. सोनी टीवी के ऊपर इनके कई सारे प्रवचन कई सारे लोगों ने सुना होगा कि बहुत ही ये प्रवचन इतने सुप्रसिद्ध हुए थे कि पूरे भारत में उनके प्रवचन अलग अलग जगह हो रहे थे. तो इस प्रकार गौरांग प्रभु जो है वो एक इस्कॉन के लिए एक बहुत प्रेरणा है. अलग अलग जगह युवकों को प्रेरणा है, इस्कॉन के भक्तों के लिए प्रेरणा है. इस्कॉन के कई सारे विंग है जैसे कि ही इज़ अ ग्लोबल ड्यूटी ऑफिसर फॉर इस्कॉन गवर्निंग बॉडी कमीशन. ही इज़ अ ट्रस्टी ऑफ इस्कॉन GBC कॉलेज. ही इज़ अ मेंबर ऑफ GBC ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डेवलपमेंट कमेटी एंड GBC नॉमिनेशन कमेटी. इस प्रकार कई सारे इस्कॉन के अंदर से ये है उसका ये व्यवस्थापन देखते हैं. मैं ज़्यादा समय नहीं लूँगा. श्रीमान गौरांग प्रभु को विनती करूँगा कि वो आज का जो भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर का जो प्रेजेंटेशन है उसके लिए शुरू करें। आप सभी के लिए हमने पर्पसफुली जो स्क्रीन है वो इधर लगाया है, सो दैट कि आप भी और मंच के ऊपर बैठे हुए अतिथि भी वो देख पाएंगे। हरे कृष्णा।
Honorable Dr. Vijay Bhatkar, Sir, Dr. Nitin Kalmarkar ji, Rajesh Pandey ji, Dr. Anjali Kurane ji, Dr. Sadanand More ji, and Dr. Dhumal, and all the honorable dignitaries on the dais. So, I am very honored that today is a very historic day where the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, maybe I'll just take a handheld mic so that I can move around easier. That very exalted academic luminaries of India and globally acclaimed personalities are sitting with us to launch the Bhaktivedanta Research Center affiliated to Pune University today in ISKCON Pune. So, as Radheshyam Prabhu was mentioning, that Pune is known as the Oxford of the East, but we are looking at a day when, as the research progresses and seeing the kind of luminaries who are sitting here, there is a high potential, and my dream that in future Oxford will be known as Pune of the West. So, yes, Balram Lila Prabhu, you can begin the slideshow. So as you can see that the Indic heritage resurrection is what we are looking at, that as technology is trying to help people control the machines and systems, we are trying to integrate with the values given in our Vedic wisdom, which is basically centered around self-control. Go ahead, next. The case study in China, as all of us are aware, that the world population has increased from 1 billion way back in 1800 to 7.7 billion as it stands today. But it has taken almost 7 centuries for the population the population to double from almost 0.25 billion in 800 AD to 0.5 billion in 1500 AD. But in the recent times, the doubling of population between 1950 to 1987 happened from 2.5 billion to 5 billion in only 37 years. So the world is growing at an exponential rate. Go ahead. And the Chinese Cultural Revolution was trying to transform the way people would think. As they saw that the population has grown, technology has grown, the economy is growing, but they observed that people do not seem to have any ability to control their own emotions, their mind, their senses. Microsoft did a research between 2012 and 2017 and found that the human attention span went down from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. And today, across the world, the internet users have grown, from 400 million in 2000 to almost 4.62 billion in 2020. Not just this, there has been a profuse infusion of access to pornography, and 12% of all the websites on the internet are pornographic. Almost 2.3 billion pornographic websites are there. But the more worrying thing from our perspective is that if you consider the pornographic use by the student population who's below the age of 24, the global average is 31%, but India has 48% of its youth under the age of 24 exposed to pornography in a big way. And therefore, if we have a population which is highly distracted, and in America, distraction causes $650 billion every single year, especially in the form of, huge losses and accidents which happen. Almost 64% of car accidents happen due to distraction. So yes, information is available. Information is profusely available and accessible. But what will that information do if the people are losing their ability to remain absorbed, to be attentive, to be focused? And distraction is a pandemic which is going to continue even after the COVID pandemic has been controlled. And therefore, Bhaktivedanta Research Center and ISKCON, they have been trying their level best to help people approach this entire science of self-control in two different ways. When ISKCON establishes its temple, we allow people to access the knowledge of the Gita and our ancient wisdom through a spiritual process, through an informal process, the temple worship, which is the traditional way. India has 2 million Hindu temples. But then there is another way in which this wisdom can be approached, which is through an academic way. And that has been demonstrated in America for the first time. And we will see that China actually understood it pretty soon. And they have instilled the study of Chinese wisdom and tradition in a huge manner all across China, after having reached the peak of economic development, because they saw that economy has developed but we have lost control or losing control over the people. And therefore, go ahead. The second case study is in America. You see some of the top universities across America. I personally visited the university at Utah, from where the famous Stephen Covey, has come up. And even others like Harvard and Princeton and Yale, they were all actually Christian seminaries. Next. And so also Princeton, Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, the foundation for all of this was based on religious studies. So in 1962-63 period, the American Academy of Religion was established. Go ahead. And from 1965 till present, the growth of the AAR, American Academy of Religion, has been humongous. And you'll be surprised to know that today there are 10,000 PhDs in religion in North America. And these 10,000 people come together every year in November during one of the weekends in one city and occupy several hotels and have a conference for 3 days. And that is known as the AAR conference. And therefore, this is a very, very unique way in which religion is being approached. It is not a bad word, but it is a way in which you understand how you as a human being can have complete harmony over yourself and have full control, better control over your own senses, over your own mind, over your own body than you have over your smartphone and your laptop. That can be done through this process. Go ahead. Now, His Holiness Dalai Lama was arguably in exile in India, but his mind was fully active. And he planned that, okay, if Buddhists have been exiled, like they were subjected to various kinds of tribulations in Tibet, but that does not stop me from unleashing an entire revolution of Buddhist academic studies. So in the 1970s, he inspired Dr. Robert Thurman, whose daughter is more famous, the actress Uma Thurman. But Dr. Robert Thurman became one of the first PhDs in Buddhist studies in North America. And since then, more than 100 PhDs in Buddhism have been created in the universities in North America. And I personally visited some of these, like Naropa, excellent university, Buddhist-based university, where all the Buddhist studies are being taught, fantastic. And because of such a profuse exposure to academics by Buddhist scholars, they were also able to express and communicate to the mainstream in North America what Buddhism really is. And today, practically all of the Hollywood stars, if they want an alternative from Christianity or Judaism, they look at Buddhism as a first choice because of the influence of that research work which has happened for a long time. And even when I'm traveling in America, at the airports, so many airport staff look at me and say, "Oh, Buddhist monk?" I said, "No, Hare Krishna monk." "Oh, okay, sir. No problem. For us, everything same." But Buddhist monks, they are famous. Why? Because the approach was academic. Next. So therefore, as the millennial generation is waking up, one of the characteristics of the millennials is they will not accept anything just like that without being logically convinced. So although we have the traditional temple worship model which can continue, no problem, but we cannot remain oblivious to a fantastic opportunity of approaching a huge body of wisdom which can transform human society in a major way through academics. And that is the academic approach to Hindu studies. Go ahead. So the lost heritage of India has been that, from almost 1 AD to 1000 AD, India's GDP contribution to the world was 36%. Then when the foreign invaders started coming in by 1500, it came down to 27%. By 1700, it came down to 16%. And in 1900, it came down to only 1% of the world GDP. That means till around 1800 to 1700 AD, for 1700 years, we were leading the world in terms of economy. So any country which has led the world economy for the longest period of time has been India. But that's not the main point. The main point is, along with being the world leaders in economy for 1700 years, we also managed to simultaneously have the most peaceful and harmonious social system, family system, value system, where society and people in the society were happy, joyful, families existed. Because today the biggest challenge we are seeing is, as the GDP of different countries in the West is increasing, we have almost 95% of adults in France who consume alcohol on a regular basis. Alcohol is responsible for 3 million premature deaths and almost 600,000 deaths in India every year. In the 1900 to 2000 period, smoking killed 100 million people. And then from 2000 to 2100, it's going to kill 1 billion people. Smoking is killing one person every second. So therefore, with all the education, with all the technology, what exactly have we been able to accomplish in terms of helping people control their own habits, control their own dealings? And so a country like Luxembourg, which has a high GDP, is having a divorce rate of 88%. A country like Spain has a divorce rate of 65%. France has a divorce rate of 55%. Russia has a divorce rate of 51%. USA has a divorce rate of 46%. The global divorce rate is 44%. Now you may wonder why Brahmachari is quoting so many divorce rate statistics. Because the point I'm trying to make is, India has the lowest divorce rate in the world, 1% only. Let us hold our claps, because it is as of today. Because the more we are embracing Facebook, the more we are embracing Google, the more we are embracing all the technology from the West, it is only a matter of time when the social effects of the West will also percolate and infiltrate India. So the point I'm trying to make is, parents are always worried about children's education. 2021 is a year where parents need to be worried about the children's culture, because that's going to be the game changer moving forward. And we have the biggest body of soft power knowledge with respect to culture, tradition, that which can transform. Because one of the most difficult things to transform is not the economy, is not healthcare, is not technology. The most difficult thing to help to transform is human behavior. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada in 1966 established ISKCON and demonstrated that spirituality is not just depending on which religion you are born into. Spirituality is as scientific as healthcare. You take a medicine, you get cured. You follow a certain practice, you get transformed in terms of your values, in terms of your habits, in terms of your attitude towards things. Go ahead. And therefore, the spiritual decay which we find has affected to such an extent. People say, you're talking about spirituality and this and that, but what about food? You know, papi pet ka sawal hai, khane ke liye bhojan nahi hai. Are, did you know that almost 33% of all the food produced in the world is wasted? Approximately 2.3 billion tons of food is simply thrown. It is wasted. So we are talking about, making sure everybody gets food. If simply the waste is avoided, if that awareness is created and people have more self-control, that itself is going to save and help us utilize our resources so much more than what we have seen so far. So in 2014, the fossil fuel emissions has grown to 36 billion tons compared to 2 billion tons way back in 1800. And so United Nations, which is a science and data based organization, they only believe science and data. In 2017, when they saw the rate at which climate change is happening, the degeneration which is happening, in 2030 SDGs, 17 SDGs, we are way behind the target. It was a wake-up call. They saw that the fire is growing, and then they reached out to all the spiritual organizations across the world. UN means science. UN means data. That is reality. But UN, the science and data-based organization, has created a specific wing of United Nations called FBOs, faith-based organizations. And then they started having dialogue. And so ISKCON and Govardhan Eco Village is also one of the United Nations faith-based organizations. And recently in April, they have appointed me as a United Nations faith counselor to share with people, to lead a lifestyle of self-control so that climate change can be arrested. And so Dr. Iyad, who heads the FBO unit of the United Nations Environment Program in Nairobi, so I had gone for UNIA 4 conference a couple of years back, and I asked them that, hey, you guys are only science and data. How can you embrace spirituality and religion and, the mullahs and the imams and the priests and the, everybody is coming together and how is it possible? Both are two different worlds. They said, we have the best of data and best of research and best of analysis. How the earth is on fire, we can demonstrate through hundreds of PowerPoints. How to stop the fire? We need the help of all the spiritual people, because people listen to gurus, not to scientists. He said that. I was shocked. I said, Arey Mama, this is a new paradigm. He said, yeah. When the house is on fire, you have to let go all of your previous conceptions, because pehle jaan bacha nahi. So the rate at which the degeneration is happening, we realized with all the scientists put together, by showing them all the data, people's habits are not changing. So therefore, they acknowledge. So therefore, Prabhupada in 1970s established Bhaktivedanta Institute to show correlation between science and religion. But we don't have to do that anymore, because one of the greatest science and data-based organization, UN, has already acknowledged and accepted and amalgamated spirituality and religion under their umbrella, saying that, please, let us work together, because that is how transformation will happen. So therefore, go ahead. religious studies in India is overdue, and today the definition of secularism seems to be that no study of religion. And so, at the age of 8 or 9, a child learns about proton, neutron, electron, this, that. But is there any way in which, in our education system, at any point, in a formal way, anybody can understand? Can you just, let me know in 3 months' time, in maybe 15 lectures, what Hinduism is all about? What Sikhism is all about? What Judaism is all? What is Islam about? So there is no exposure, no method of knowing this. And we have to come above this misconception that religion, spirituality is just for some few private seekers who want to do that in their free time. No, we have to understand the powerful impact this can have in transforming people's behaviors, people's attitudes, help conserve and preserve families, and in this way help society. With all of that data which I shared about the divorce rates, if family as an institution is conserved, many people think family is only some kind of an emotional, emotional discussion. But conserving family has powerful financial effects. When you had, Price Waterhouse, the Goldman Sachs did a study that between 2016 and 2026, India would need almost 1.5 trillion tons, $1.5 trillion of money for infrastructure development. And out of that $1.5 trillion, $800 billion was going to come from family savings. And so, some of the biggest economists, they actually confessed that the biggest contributor to Indian economy, more than the corporates, is the housewife. Why? Because if the concept of family is not there, if the affection for family is not there, then you don't worry about the education, you don't worry about the marriage, you don't worry about anything. So why should you save? So therefore, there are so many other ramifications of preserving our culture and values which need to be studied deeply. And that is one of the areas which Bhaktivedanta Research Center would be doing, trying to connect all the dots and approach spirituality through a systems thinking approach. And that's what is important today. So the mission is that let us try to collect, preserve, research, and teach the highest eternal wisdom through the most revered contemporary means and help their effective establishment for the long term in the society at large for the benefit of all. Next. So these are the 4 pillars of Bhaktivedanta Research Center. Collect the manuscripts, because, I was shocked to know that some 50-60 years ago, when a lot of wheat was imported from the West to India, in exchange, a lot of manuscripts were also given, and some of them are still around in the universities in East of America, in the East Coast of America. And this information was shared with me by, one of the people who's involved with things like that. And many times people do not understand the value of these manuscripts because these manuscripts represent the heritage. They carry those codes, the original codes, based on which all the other contemporary literatures of wisdom have been derived. So to preserve that is extremely important, because then we can actually connect with the original body of knowledge. Then second is preserve through libraries and museums. And libraries are places where people come and they worship these literatures with their intellect by studying them. And then you have a research center where all of this knowledge can be utilized to understand deeper and come up with newer and newer perspectives. And most importantly, how they can be contemporarily implemented So that's extremely important. And then, of course, once you have the good quality research, you also teach. And academic institutions are very, very important. Next. And therefore, currently we have BRC offering MA and PhD program. Officially, we are tied up with Mumbai University. And after Mumbai University, this is the second affiliation which we are having. And we are very, very grateful to Pune University and Dr. Karmar Kalsar for being so open and going ahead with this collaboration. In the near future, our Bhaktivedanta Research Center at Kolkata, which has 25,000 books and manuscripts, that will be affiliated with Kolkata University. And similarly, we have one BRC in Vrindavan, which we are exploring opportunities of collaborating with Banaras Hindu University or University of Delhi. And like this, we want that current scenario which is there in India should provide opportunities for people to actually connect to humanities in this wonderful manner. Go ahead. These are some of our partners: Stockholm University, Oxford Center for Hindu Studies, American Psychological Association, etc. And, one of the great advantages of BRC is because we are ISKCON and we are connected to a worldwide organization, exposure to humanities faculty from across the world will be enabled by us. And already I met, the GTU president has visited the Eco Village twice, Graduate Theological Union, Dr. Rita Sharma from GTU, and, Professor Francis Clooney from Harvard Divinity School has been a very close friend and well-wisher for many years. And, Dr. Gavin Flood from Oxford. So these are all, historical names as far as humanities and religious studies is concerned. And they are more than happy to share their wisdom with this body of students who will be connecting with us in the long run. So just to share with you one more very interesting fact that, out of 27 crore students in schools and 3.5 crore students in our college system, almost 13.5% undergraduate and 13.5% PhDs are in engineering. And the second is commerce at 13.5% UGs and 5% PhDs. Management, medicine, IT, law, all these are in 1 to 5% range only. But the largest percentage of undergrads is in humanities, almost 39%. So there is a great opportunity. But the irony is the top IQ people in India, as far as students is concerned, if you go by the admissions, highest percentage people prefer engineering, medicine, management, and this and that. Usually that has been the trend so far. You may be knowing better, sir, but that's what it appears prima facie. And therefore we want to reverse that, and we want to create not just a research center, but today's occasion is the beginning of a revolution for creating revolution in humanities study as far as India is concerned. And therefore, as we are able to flood, more and more of not just students' population with this knowledge, but also the working population, we realize that what about those who are in their 40s and 50s, are in their career, and now they have made their money, but they have some free time and they have an idea and desire to know more about what is Bhagavad-Gita, what is Mahabharata, what is this wisdom. We want to create courses which will be extremely friendly for all such people to be able to register both online and offline, and both in the cities and in the rural spaces, so that access to all of our wisdom becomes extremely easy. Hearing a few quotes, that habit is a lifestyle to be lived, not a finish line to be crossed. One's commitment to the process will determine one's progress. And therefore, discipline is the fusion of intention with action. And spirituality and yoga empowers our destiny to do our best, to be at our best, and we have to be honest and sincere in our efforts in whatever we do. So if we don't stand for something, we will fall for anything. None of us, not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. And life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. And as Churchill said, success is not fatal, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And everyone thinks of changing the world, very few think of changing themselves. And therefore, it is what you read when you don't have to do that which determines what you will be when you can't help it. So dear friends, the Bhaktivedanta Research Center is bringing to all of us and to humanity at large a huge body of wealth. What is this wealth? Wealth is the power to choose. Financial wealth is the power to choose how you spend money. Social wealth is the power to choose whom you associate and spend time with. Time wealth is the power to choose how you will spend your day. Your mental wealth is the power to choose where you will focus your attention. We will help you develop the art of getting things done and also leaving things undone, because the wisdom of life consists of eliminating the non-essentials. And the place to improve the world is first in one's own heart, head and hands, and then you work outwards from there. New goals will not deliver new results. New habits and lifestyles will. And there are three things which you cannot buy. You cannot buy fitness, you cannot buy diet, you cannot buy self-discipline. And therefore, dear friends, be detached from the results, not from the goals. And that is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita. Setting goals increases your focus, but worrying about results, it distracts you from your focus. And therefore, to relish satisfaction, replace expectation with appreciation. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, but while loving someone deeply gives you courage. And faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. Attitude is greater than accomplishment. And the Bhaktivedanta Research Center helps each one of us increase our flexibility, selflessness, forgiveness, obedience, and dependence on each other and on our ancient wisdom in provoking situations. And as we are able to improve our self-control, we are able to improve the world and life around us. And with that hope, I thank our honorable guests who have made our Bhaktivedanta Research Center Pune inauguration function successful. And I can see that in not so near future, we will definitely have Bhaktivedanta Research Center as one of the top academic institutions in the whole world for humanities. Thank you again very much, Shwetadeep Prabhu.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद गौरांग प्रभु कि तो यहाँ एक स्लाइड आपको प्रेजेंट किया जा रहा है जिसके ऊपर, क्योंकि बीआरसी ये इसकी अभी शुरुआत होने जा रही है, तो इसके प्रपोज 3 कोर्सेस यहाँ टीम ने लॉन्च किए हैं। जैसे अभी राधेश्याम प्रभु ने बताया कि बलभद्र कृपा प्रभु ये बीआरसी का सेक्रेटरी करके ये देखते हैं। ये भी आईआईटी से इन्होंने बीटेक की डिग्री हासिल करने के बाद जापान में निसान मोटर्स में वो काम करते थे। तो कुछ कोर्सेस इस प्रकार प्रपोज किए हैं कि वैदिक कल्चर एंड नॉलेज ये कोर्स रहेगा, सेल्फ डेवलपमेंट सीरीज फॉर कॉलेज एंड कारपोरेट यूथ्स ये एक रहेगा, और सेल्फ डेवलपमेंट सीरीज फॉर गवर्नमेंट एंड सोशल वर्कर्स। इसके ये अभी कोर्सेस इमीडिएटली रिसर्च सेंटर की ओर से शुरू हो जाने वाले हैं। तो गौरांग प्रभु ने अपनी बहुत ही क्लियर दूरदृष्टि दिखाया कि भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर ये सिर्फ पूना का एक छोटा सा एक विशिष्ट तत्वज्ञान का प्रचार करने वाला एक ये नहीं केंद्र नहीं है, तो पूरे विश्व को इस प्रकार आध्यात्मिक मूल्य देकर पूरे विश्व में जो भक्ति भाव का प्रचार करते हुए समस्त मानव जात को जो भारतीय संकल्पना है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, उस लेवल तक लेके जाना है, ये इनका विजन है पहले से। तो इस प्रकार अभी कार्यक्रम की नेक्स्ट जो स्पीकर है वो हमारे प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर अंजलि कुरने है। तो उनके बारे में उनका परिचय हमारे भक्तिवेदांत रिसर्च सेंटर के इंडिया के डायरेक्टर मिस्टर सुमंत रुद्रो, इनको मैं विनती करूंगा कि उनका परिचय यहाँ कर दे। उसके बाद जो कुरने मैडम अपने विचार व्यक्त करेंगे। इंट्रोडक्शन होने के बाद में, क्योंकि अभी 3 स्पीकर बचे हैं, जैसे इनके बाद जो अपने वाइस चांसलर्स है वो बोलेंगे, इनके बाद पद्म विभूषण विजय भटकर जी अपने विचार व्यक्त करेंगे। तो आपके टेबल के ऊपर एक फॉर्म है, आप जैसे प्रोग्राम होने के बाद इसका फीडबैक आप जरूर भरिए। सुमंत रुद्र।
Thank you, sir. Dr. Anjali Kurane is currently the Dean of Faculties of Humanities, Senior Professor of Anthropology, a researcher, consultant, academician, and proficient administrator at the Savitribai Phule University of Pune. She has published 6 books and 38 articles in international and national journal, presented around 90 papers in international seminar conferences. At present, she is a member of editorial and advisory board of 4 international and national journals. Professor Anjali Kurane received 2 awards and recognition at international levels, at State Fellow to Oxford and to Ghent University. I'll welcome Dr. Anjali to please say her words of wisdom. Thank you, Doctor.
झालं माझं खूप तोंडावर येते. Thank you, Dr. Rudra. Good afternoon to everyone. President of today's function, Padma Bhushan Dr. Vijay Bhatkar. Today's chief guest, Professor Karmar Kalsar, Honorable Vice Chancellor of our Savitribai Phule Pune University. Honorable Rajesh Dada Pandeji, Radhesham Das, Gaurang Das, Dr. Dhumar, Dr. Rudra, Dr. Chitode, Sanjay Bhosle ji, Bhushan Kumar Chaudhary ji, all Prabhu ji, those who are present here, Bhante ji, many social activists are also present here, PMC officers are here. I can see many of my colleagues from the universities are here, students, friends. Indeed, I'm really delighted and honored to be a part of this inaugural function of Bhaktivedanta Research Center. I said I'm delighted. You know, I have 2 reasons for this, for saying this. One is personal and other is academic. My personal reason, last time when I visited, during my first visit, that time I had mentioned that this ISKCON temple, it always remained an attraction point for me, right from my childhood. Now, the reason was totally different. That is, you know, I was always attracted towards very delicious prasad of ISKCON. whenever I used to visit, I used to visit Mumbai, I routinely, you know, I have visited to ISKCON temple near Juhu, as my brother stays over there. And reason was just one, to get that delicious prasad. Then later on, when I was in Bangalore for my research purpose, that time also I got opportunity to visit Bangalore's ISKCON temple, and it's very beautiful. But apart from the beauty of the temple, you know what I observed, I could see the whole Bangalore city was situated on the temple, including three-dimension theater. Like, you know, that observation as an anthropologist, I studied that temple that time from the anthropological perspective, and throughout whether it is all the commercialization or what, that the question raised that time in my mind. But, you know, a year back, Dr. Dhuma, Dr. Chitode, Bhosleji, Bhushan Kumar, they introduced me the academic phase of this ISKCON temple. And that academic phase was very much interesting, very much impressive, and too much of fascinating, you know. Then throughout the year, I was with contact with them. I visited this place as an LIC committee member, and then I realized that ISKCON's members are really desperate for the academic purpose, and academic quality is their main purpose. Academic research is their main purpose to have a research center. I also came to know that, you know, they have worldwide research network. You know, when I came here, I came as a dean, as an academician, and when the proposal was for the research center, and it was not only a nationwide network, but they were having the worldwide network. They were already, I think, having connection with Mumbai University, Kolkata University, and one of the projects they are doing with the Mumbai University. So I would like to conclude expressing my hope that this Bhaktivedanta Research Center would be hub point of Savitribai Phule University to promote and develop further development for the collaboration with the national, international universities, academia, industries, NGOs, and I am very sure that this center will do the best, and I wish the best to Bhaktivedanta Research Center. For any further help, definitely we all are there, and best of luck to you, and thank you.
कुने मैडम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, क्योंकि इसका एफिलिएशन करने में आपका बहुत बड़ा सहयोग है। हम बहुत मनपूर्वक आपको धन्यवाद देते हैं। अभी मैं, जैसे मैंने बताया था कि गवर्नर ऑफ महाराष्ट्र से ये जो सावित्रीबाई फुले पूना यूनिवर्सिटी के ऊपर मैनेजमेंट काउंसिल करके जिनको अपॉइंट किया गया, ऐसे श्री राजेश जी पांडे, कि जो नेशनल यूथ फोरम सोसाइटी के भारत के अध्यक्ष भी है, जिसके 22,000 मेंबर्स पूरे भारत में है, जिसमें 4 मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट्स भी है। इसके साथ साथ भारत के शिक्षण मंत्री जो धर्मेंद्र प्रधान जी है, इनके साथ इनका बहुत नज़दीक से संबंध है, और अलग अलग जो शिक्षाओं में जो अलग अलग ये पॉलिसीज़ वगैरह करना है, उसमें भी उनका काफ़ी बड़ा योगदान रहता है। साथ साथ भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पूना के संगठक सचिव भी है। मैं इनको विनती करूंगा कि ये अपनी शुभेच्छाएं इस कार्य के लिए देने के लिए 2 शब्द यहाँ कहें।
मंच पर विराजमान आदरणीय भटकर जी, आदरणीय करमरकर जी, आदरणीय गौरांग प्रभु जी, डॉक्टर कुरने मैडम, डॉक्टर कालकर सर, डॉक्टर चितोड़े जी, भोसले जी, और यहाँ पे सामने बैठे सारे विद्वज्जन। मुझे लगता है गौरांग प्रभु जी का सुनने के बाद कहने के लिए कुछ नहीं है, करने के लिए बहुत कुछ है। प्रभु जी, हमारे विश्वविद्यालय का जो गीत है उसकी शुरुआत है, ज्ञान बनो कर्मशील, कर्म ज्ञानवान। मुझे लगता है कि आज के, जैसे कुरना मैडम ने भी अभी कहा कि सेंटर के इनॉग्रेशन के बाद भक्ति मार्ग पर चलते चलते आप रिसर्च करेंगे, और रिसर्च वही ठीक होता है जो रिसर्च समाज के प्रति संवेदनशील होता है, जो रिसर्च समाज के प्रति प्रतिबद्ध होता है, और जो रिसर्च समाज के लिए होता है। मुझे लगता है कि इस रिसर्च सेंटर से जो भी संशोधन होगा वो शायद समाज के लिए। और गौरांग प्रभु जी का तो मैं ऐसा लग रहा था आप बोलते ही रहिए, आप सही में इतना, यानी आपने हमको, यानी इस देश के लिए आपने चैलेंज भी दे दिया और अपॉर्चुनिटी भी बता दी। सोशल मीडिया का कितना दुरुपयोग हो रहा है ये भी बता दिया, और पूना को आपने वेस्ट के लिए एक बड़ा सेंटर भी बता दिया। इतना हमारे पास मौका है। हम तो कार्यकर्ता लोग हैं, मैं कोई रिसर्चर नहीं हूँ और कोई मैं एकेडमिशियन नहीं हूँ, मैं एक सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता हूँ। जिस विचार से, जिस प्रेरणा से और जिस संस्कार से मैं काम कर रहा हूँ, उसमें हमेशा एक कहा जाता है कि तन समर्पित मन समर्पित और यह जीवन समर्पित, चाहता हूँ मातृभू तुझे कुछ और भी दूँ। मुझे लगता है कि इस्कॉन से जुड़ने के बाद हम देश के प्रति, समाज के प्रति, मातृभू के प्रति और भी कुछ करने का एक भक्ति मार्ग इस्कॉन के साथ जुड़ने के साथ मुझे मिला है, और वो मुझे प्रेरणा देगा। इसी आशा के साथ, विश्वास के साथ इस सेंटर को मेरी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं।
राजेश जी, आपने जो अपने भावपूर्ण विचार, समृद्धशील विचार और सुसंस्कृत संस्कारशील विचार यहाँ व्यक्त कर कर एक 2 मिनट में ही इतनी बड़ी शुभेच्छा इस संस्था को दी, उसके लिए बहुत हृदयपूर्वक हम लोग आपका भी धन्यवाद देना चाहते हैं। सचमुच पिछले करीब 1966 के बाद आज तक 50-55 सालों में इस्कॉन ने पूरे विश्व को दिखा दिया है कि किस प्रकार समस्त मानव जीवन जो जात है वो किस प्रकार प्रेम से और सद्भावना से इस विश्व में रह सकती है। क्योंकि संशोधन अलग अलग विषयों पर किया जाता है, अनफॉर्चुनेटली कुछ लोग इस प्रकार का संशोधन करते हैं जो समाज में जो है समाज में दूरी पड़े। लेकिन आध्यात्मिक दृष्टि से जब हम संशोधन करेंगे तब पता चलेगा कि सब एकात्मता, प्रेम, संबंध, सद्भावना, इसके ऊपर संशोधन किया जाता है। जैसे हमने बताया कि रामायण में देखा गया तो पारसी समाज का जो झेंद अवस्तु धर्म ग्रंथ है उसमें रामहवस्त्र स्तोत्र है। बौद्ध धर्म का त्रिपिटिकम नाम का चाइनीज ग्रंथ है, उसमें दशरथ कथानकम है। जैन धर्म के यहाँ हमारे दिलीप भाई जी मेहता और अशोक जी गुंदेचा यहाँ है, जो जैन मंदिर के अलग अलग सब बॉडी पे है, तो वो भी बोलते हैं कि उसमें भी विमल मुनि कृत रामायण है, और ऋषभदेव मुनि का नाम श्रीमद् भागवतम में है। यहाँ गुरुद्वार के भी चरणजीत सिंह करके आने वाले थे, पुणे के गुरुद्वार समिति के कमेटी के हेड, तो ये भी बताते हैं कि जो गुरु ग्रंथ साहिबा है उसमें 63 अभंग नामदेव महाराज के है, जिसमें रामकृष्ण हरि के बिना कुछ नहीं। तो बताइए हम कहाँ अलग है? हिंदू, बौद्ध, पारसी, जैन, सिख कहाँ अलग है? इवन हम लोग यीशु ख्रिस्त का बात करते हैं कि उनको भगवान का पुत्र माना जाता है, और मोहम्मद पैगंबर को भगवान का प्रेषित माना जाता है। तो कृष्ण को भगवान कृष्ण को पिता मानने में क्या गलत है? विजय प्रदा पिता, ऐसे गीता में भगवान कहते हैं। तो हम लोग डाइवर्सिटी को है ना एक्सेप्ट करें, आदर करें, सम्मान करें, और जीवन को बहुत आनंद से इस विश्व को परमेश्वर के बनाई हुई दृष्टि, उनकी मालिकी की यह सृष्टि को हम और सुंदर बनाए। अभी इसके बाद के जो स्पीकर है उनके लिए इंट्रोड्यूस करने के लिए मैं डॉक्टर जनार्दन चितोड़े, ये भी इसके डीन डायरेक्टर है, डायरेक्टर एकेडमिक्स है पूना BRC के, इनको मैं बोलूँगा कि परिचय देने के लिए आप आइए।
It's very pleasure to introduce Dr. Karmar Kalsar. He is the Vice Chancellor of Pune University since May 2017. After his tenure, the university ranking has gone up, especially NIRF ranking is ninth among the Indian universities. He has completed his BSc, MSc and PhD. He has more than 28 years of teaching and research experience. He is the recipient of C. Naganna Gold Medal. He has guided 4 PhDs and 6 more scholars are pursuing PhD and postdoctoral under his guidance. Sir has shouldered many responsibilities at Pune University, like IQAC cell, member of Central Purchase Committee, member of Senate, member of Alumni Association, and many other committees. Under his tenure, many MOUs are signed with foreign universities, industries, and students for the developments. He is the member and he is the member of different committees like NAC, CEC, ICCR. He is the fellow of Maharashtra Academy of Sciences. He's also chairman of Birla Sahni Institute of Paleo Sciences, Lucknow. He's the president of Maharashtra Vigyan Vardhini and also Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, Nasik. So, thank you, sir. I welcome. I request sir to give his address.
Good afternoon, distinguished dais, respected Bhatkarji, Gaurang Prabhuji, my colleague from the university, Dr. Kurne, Dean Humanities, Karmar Kalsar, Dean Commerce and Management, Rajesh Pandey, Member of Management Council, rest all dignitaries, both on the dais, sitting in platform. It's indeed a proud privilege to be part of this very momentous occasion wherein we are starting or rather opening a new center of research, Bhaktivedanta. And this is not my first visit to this particular place. This perhaps is the third. And prior this, about 2 years before time, there was a conclave of vice chancellors wherein Gaurangji only made a presentation about creating 6 onward this whole movement connected with entire world as such. And the kind of basically objectives, those are set in what Gaurangji Prabhu made a presentation that what actually it is looking at and why there is a necessity of creating such a research center as such. In fact, on the campus, this idea came to my mind a couple of times that we should have something in the religious studies as such. But somehow, you all know that there are like certain things attached when you call it as a religious and all that. So there's always a problem sort of. But I'm happy that some way indirectly actually it is happening with all in that when he was studying himself, he used to relish the food at the Hare Krishna along with. So that is called as the science of yoga. So all those things to a great extent we are trying to create in the form of e-mode or e-content mode, and it would be made available on the university platform as such. So whoever would be interested in going for a certification, the university would provide such a certification as such. So the ancient thought leaders basically right from Kautilya to Panini to Aryabhatta to so many of them. And these are not going to be just biographical sketches, but the kind of basically research statement that are associated with these names, how can they be taken forward? So India has a rich heritage, rich sort of a culture, rich, in fact, I would say the knowledge system, whether it is Upanishad, when we speak about Ayurveda, in fact, the Sushrut Samhita, these are very ancient sort of a texts that are available as such. And they need to be studied time and again. In fact, it is the Bhagavad-Gita has not attracted only a few sort of, right from centuries together. And we all know what is Bhagavad-Gita. It is basically the Guru Shishya is kind of a samvad, a dialogue between Prabhu Shri Krishna and Arjuna. And Arjuna, when is completely confused in front of him, basically he is saying that I have to have a war with those people who belongs to me. They are my family members. They are very close and near and dear to me. So that is the time, in fact, in the form of a teacher or a guru, Prabhu Shri Krishna stood up and said, like, I will not fight a war for you. Na dhari shastra kari, sangene goshti yukti chachara. And in that he has mentioned that basically, although they are your relatives and all that, but they are, मराठीमध्ये ज्याला म्हणतो की दुराचारी आहे, सदाचरणाचं आचरण नाही केलेलं, त्यांनी दुराचरण आहे सगळं. सत्याच्या कास त्यांनी धरलेलं नाही, असत्याचा कास त्यांनी धरलेला आहे. आणि धर्म आणि अधर्म याच्यामध्ये अधर्माच्या बाजूने आहे. त्यामुळे कौंतेय जो तुझा स्वतःचा भाऊ आहे, तो सुद्धा जरी किती पराक्रमी असला, दुर्योधन किती पराक्रमी असला, किंवा द्रोणाचार्य ज्यांनी तुला शिकवलं तेही त्यांच्या बाजूने जरी उभे असले, तरी आत्ता त्यांनी जो मार्ग स्वीकारला तो चुकीचा स्वीकारलेला आहे. आणि ह्या मार्गासाठी तुला लढणं अत्यंत गरजेचं आहे. त्यामुळे जेव्हा अर्जुनासारखा शिष्य पूर्ण कन्फ्यूज होतो, आणि संपूर्ण गीता जर पाहिली तर एव्हरी अध्याय, इफ यू गेट इन टू every problem that you face, there is an answer you would find in Gita. That is what is the beauty of Gita. आणि पुन्हा 13व्या शतकामध्ये आपण जर पाहिलं असेल की पुन्हा यादवकालीनच प्रकार आहे, सगळा यादवांचंच इथे राज्य होतं. पुन्हा कुठेतरी यादवी माजल्यासारखी होते. आणि त्यावेळेला पुन्हा एक कुठेतरी आपेगावच्या कुलकर्णींचा मुलगा ज्ञानेश्वर, त्यानं पुन्हा त्याच्यावर भाष्य केलं आणि ज्ञानेश्वरी निर्माण झाली. आणि फ्रीडम स्ट्रगलच्या बाबतीत तुम्ही जर विचार केला, जिथून महाराष्ट्रातून पुण्यातून विशेषतः फ्रीडम स्ट्रगलची जी काही, ज्याला आपण म्हणतो की स्वराज्यासाठी जो प्रयत्न झाला, आणि ज्याला आपण म्हणतो की मोठ्या प्रमाणात इथनं शिक्षणाच्या माध्यमातून हा प्रकार जेव्हा सुरू झाला पुण्यामध्ये, तर लोकमान्य टिळक त्यांनी सुद्धा पुन्हा मंडाळेमध्ये जे काही काम केलं ते गीता रहस्य लिहिलेलं आहे. त्यामुळे फॉर सेंचुरीज टुगेदर, इन फॅक्ट, दिस गीता हॅज नॉट ओनली enchanted, attracted, but has guided many lives as such. And therefore, such beautiful composition, such basically beautiful literature that we have, whether it is Upanishad, whether it is Vedas, so that is what perhaps would lead us the proper ways, and that is what required the most. And from that point of view, creating such a center where it would be researched, the best of the things perhaps would be brought out, will be published, and not only published, not for the purpose of getting a good API, but actually to make people live properly, some kind of a sort of a enlightenment that will happen through these sort of a research papers and research activities. In fact, the courses that they have projected today, proposed courses, Vedic culture and knowledge, in fact, that is what would be the most historic thing that would be happening. So many good things that are available, and they needs to be not only projected, but needs to be basically showcased to the world what India has. Self-development series for college and corporate youth, and in which he himself have mentioned about like India is basically demographically, if you look at 48% presently, and by 2030, 60 to 65% of the population of India would be youth, below the age group of 30-35. And that you require to have a research center, you require to have basically very dedicated kind of a people working on various different aspects as such. And to keep away people from all these distractions, perhaps, I am hoping this particular center would put in their heart and brain together and we would be with you to